Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is the Foreignish podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Lexi Sheridan Coons.
And I'm Erin Burnell Fishbaugh.
Woohoo! And we're here to talk about life abroad, living abroad, Americans in Spain. That's our experience. All the good stuff that goes along with that language barriers, cultural faux pas, funny dating stories, and the whole nine yards. So, welcome to our podcast.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Hey, Erin.
How you doing, Lex?
I'm good.
Good. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, so good to see you. Definitely told you already that I had like 3 beers yesterday and over the course of 3 hours, and I feel hungover.
That is so crazy. How can 3 beers make us feel hungover? And that's so funny. I was watching the show on, I don't even remember. It's on Apple TV. It's with,
Mhm.
John Hamm. Is that his name? John
Oh,
Hamm or whatever. So he and his like ex-wife they went back to Princeton to like for their kid or whatever.
right.
They're showing their kid. Anyway, so they start drinking and they start drinking beers and then they're like, yeah, let's get some shots of Jägermeister. And the waitress
Oh,
goes, just 2 shots, right? And she goes, "No, just bring the bottle." I'm like, "Yeah, right. Give me a break."
I
They're
know.
like 50 years old and they're drinking shots of Jägermeister, like, they'd be on the
That's a
floor.
good series. What is that series called
It's
again?
really good, and I can't remember the name of the
Where
series,
he's like
and I just
robbing from
watched
the
it.
neighbors.
Yeah, it was really good, and I can't remember what the name is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I like that series a lot.
yeah,
I think
it's good, it's
it
really
did get
good.
a little, when a series gets like a slightly unbelievable, you kind of
Mhm.
lose interest. Like it was getting a little bit like that, but I agree that scene where they're just drinking Jaeger shot after Jaeger shot, I was like, there's no fucking way
You lose, like,
you
half
are,
the night when you drink Jaeger, like, you just
dude, I
black
have 3
out.
beers and I'm like not a functioning
Yeah.
person, but I didn't have very much to eat yesterday, so I was kind of had some beers on an empty stomach, but I woke up at 1 a.m. with that hangover, anxiety.
Anxiety, yeah, that'll do it. Just a
Yeah.
few extra glasses of beer or wine that you're not supposed to have, and it's just
I
sleepless
know.
nights.
And I had food after that, and I had, like, a liter of water. I had, like, sleepy time tea. I was in bed at 8. Like, what
Yeah,
is going
that's
on?
crazy.
But for those of you who don't know, I don't know if we ever wanna talk about our age, but we're both in our 40s. I just turned 42, and I feel that pain, man. I feel that pain.
Yeah, I'm in my last year of my 40s. So, I'm trying to
But you
live
look
it up.
amazing.
I'm trying to live it up because it's my last of my 40s, but it's just, I'm like,
I mean,
I'd rather
I
be at
remember
home.
when you were my age, right? Like, you still, rocked out, you still were, but I remember you being like, "I'm not gonna make it past 10. Like, I'm just letting you know, I'm coming out to see ya, and we're gonna
I
do
was
fun
always the
things."
first person to go, right, to leave. I'm like, "Okay, bye, guys." I feel like 2 hours, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm done." But I had fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually yesterday met up with a couple friends who took me shooting. So I went, yeah, it
Can't
was
believe you
actually a lot
shot
of
a
fun.
gun. What kind
I
of
know.
gun did you shoot?
It's so American, and anyone in Europe would probably be cringing at the fact. But so my friend Zach and his friend Bozzy are, ex-military. And
Mm,
so, I'm always like a little
interesting.
fascinated with how they live their lives, but they have guns. They're gun owners. They're
Do they have,
also,
like, machine
very
guns? Or is this,
no.
like, handgun situation?
Machine gun would be outrageously expensive, but no, they have different kinds of shotguns. I don't know the first thing about guns. Like I did a rifle thing, when I was a kid, like at summer camp, like, or like the bow and arrow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just always thought it would be fun to go to a shooting range or something like that,
Mm,
just to learn. Because okay, for everyone else who doesn't know, I am now back in Oregon. I'm a California native. My mom now has been in Oregon for about 23 years. So she and my dad like moved out to Oregon when I was in college. So when I moved back from Spain 2.5 years ago, came to Oregon, and Oregon is, there's a lot of like really country bumpkin places in Oregon. If you're not in like a big city, it's
yeah.
it's a hillbilly state. So I
So
always
there's
think
lots of
like,
guns? Is that what you mean? In Oregon?
yeah, I mean, for sure, people are very big on, having their own guns. I think there's a lot of like hunting,
Yeah.
like bird hunting, duck hunting, elk hunting, bow and arrow and rifle. Like I've never been into that, but it is
Yeah.
people do value having their own guns. Not to get into anything political, but
Yeah.
I've always imagined since I'm on my own, if I ever lived in a house somewhere out in the country, I might want to have my own protection. But
Especially
yes,
if you after you read In Cold Blood, I mean, have you ever read that? Don't read it if you're gonna go live in a house by yourself out in the middle of
I
nowhere.
think I have read it, but
But anyway, so you went shooting, right? And did you shoot a
yes.
handgun or what? No,
Yeah,
no.
so they had a series of different guns. All of them, I believe, are classified as shotguns, which even then I don't understand. I'm like, what's a shotgun, right?
Yeah,
Like,
what's the difference between a shotgun and a handgun?
no, a
Shotgun's like a
handgun can be
rifle?
a shotgun.
Or
So a
sorry?
shotgun can embody various forms, I
Yeah.
guess. It could be the long one where you rest it on your shoulder or whatever. I don't,
Yeah.
they have names and I don't know what they are. And then a handgun is just something you can hold in your hand, I
Yeah.
think.
So that's what I mean. So were you like with a rifle or a handgun or what?
Well, they're all rifles. I didn't know that either. They're all rifles. I thought a rifle was a long one,
Yeah,
but
me
they're not.
too.
A rifle is a gun, basically.
So a handgun is a rifle?
It's a type of rifle. It's a hand all guns are rifles. I don't know. Somebody's gotta Google this because, like, I
Okay.
don't this is what they told me
Anyway,
yesterday.
were you like this with the gun while you were
Yeah.
shooting?
Yeah, he
Did you
taught
have like
me.
a kickback? Did you get a kickback from the
Yeah,
gun?
so the bigger guns for sure.
Did you
They're
like
just
it?
It was
Was it
fun,
fun?
yeah, I mean, you're definitely out at BLM, so that's, like, Bureau of Land Management, it's just, like, open public land. Is it public? Yeah, I guess it's public, government-owned land. So a lot of places out in Redmond, like, there are a lot of people who go out and shoot, and you can get targets and stuff. It was interesting, I just wanted to learn a little bit about how to use it, like, how to be safe, like, the
Yeah,
different
yeah.
parts of it. So I
I'd
learned a
like to
lot,
try
and
it.
I yeah. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Very American.
But it would be
Very
cool just to see what it feels like, to shoot a
yeah,
gun.
yeah.
Not a
I was, like,
person.
very scared because I wanna be safe. I want it
Yeah.
to always feel safe, and, I think they're very Zach and his friend are very, very safe about it. So,
Well, they know what they're doing, so that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Anyway, so that's what I did yesterday. I know we
Oh,
keep
I
going off.
wanted to ask you a question. So you said you were watching Selling Sunset, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one question. I wanna see if you know what I'm talking about, okay?
Okay.
What is the deal with Emma's face? Did you notice
Is she
anything?
crispy?
What's crispy? Let me tell you what I think it looks like first, and then let's see what it does. It looks
Trump?
like sorry, no, it looks like she's wearing a fat suit, but on her face only, because obviously she's, like, super, super skinny.
Really?
But, yeah, if you see, like, this part's, like, coming out really wide, and here it looks like there's something, like, fake. It was so weird. Did you not notice it? The whole time, I was like, "What is going on with your face?"
Yeah, the thing about her is, first of all, I feel like they all overdo it with the fake tanner. She is
Oh,
exponentially orange, in my opinion, which doesn't suit her coloring. Like, I think if she laid off the self tanner and the being like a bottle blonde, I think she could be a lot more beautiful. I
yeah,
didn't
I think so
notice.
too, yeah. Yeah, you gotta go back at some point and see if you can watch some of her one-on-ones, and you'll see, like, here, it's really weird. It looks like and then this is coming out more, like, her sides of her fa I don't know, it was so weird, I was like, let's see if
Maybe
Lexi
she
noticed
had
that.
some
It's just
fat
me.
grafting.
I don't know what all people can do to their faces anymore, so I'm like,
I
"What is she trying to
know.
do?"
Yeah, she
But
could
anyway.
have, like, bad filler that's moved. I actually think that she's one of the people on the show that she could be way more beautiful if
Yeah.
she gave herself, like, some more natural, like, accents. Like, her hair, if she got down to, like, a more natural color, I think,
Mhm.
and, like, her skin tone, I think she could actually be way more beautiful
Yeah, I
just
think so
being
too.
more natural. But she's super skinny, huge fake tits. I'm just
Yeah,
not into I don't think that that's beautiful,
I don't
to be
either.
honest.
Yeah. I
I feel
think
like
that's like the whole it's like the LA vibe, but they take it to
mm,
a different level. Barry's lips are out of control, like, out of control. They're like, just take over her face. She can't
that's
even
true.
talk barely. I don't know if it's her lips or if it's her veneers or both of them together, but it's just I can't.
Yeah, I think Chelsea looks better because she's definitely got like a little bit more of a figure. And I feel like she was super skinny in other seasons. And I think she looks so good with like a butt and a body and some like meat on her and being like a
Yeah,
little more voluptuous. Like
a little bit more
she looks
meat.
better. Obviously, she has big fake tits and she's probably done
Yeah.
some threading or something because I think she naturally has this like
She
look.
naturally has that kind of face, but she's done. Did
Oh,
you see you remember Brie when she was yeah, she was like, "Someone please stop Chelsea." She's, "Someone please stop Chelsea." Yeah.
but I wanted to get back because the last episode you talked about your love story,
Yeah.
and
Still
I
in
love it.
love. Still in
Yeah,
love.
still in love,
Still married. Some
still
parts
married,
maybe.
yeah,
Still married. Still
14
in love.
years strong, and I think it's really interesting to hear about, people's love stories or even, like, dating stories, having been Americans living abroad. I mean, you're still in Vitoria, in the Basque Country,
Yeah.
in Spain. Um, and I was there for 18 years. So I think dating and falling in love with a foreigner has its pros and cons.
Yeah, so how about your story?
I know.
How
Yeah.
you ended up here. Well, not ended up well, kind of ended up coming back here anyway after
sure.
college.
It's definitely part of the reason I stayed. I'm sure, I don't know, like if I would have, I might have stayed as long if I had never gotten married, but I guess my story is more of like a non love story because there was love and I fell in love and he
Yeah.
was Basque. He was my first real love being out there, of course, and of course I had some subsequent relationships after him, but I met him when I was studying abroad. So a story goes is that being married was very much integrated in some of the reasons I moved back to stay in Spain. I was
Mhm.
obviously very obsessed with Spain, and in our intros,
Yeah.
we talked about how we became kind of like we had some similar experiences, like
Yeah.
doing the exchange program and studying abroad and wanting to get back out there. And so when I was studying abroad, I met my ex-husband pretty much right away, which was interesting. So
Like the
I
first month you think that you were here, you met him?
I think so I went to Spain to study abroad for a full year. A lot of people would
Right.
go out for a semester, but I knew I was going to do a year. I had finished playing soccer. I was in my last year at school and I was just like I'm going to take a year to study and travel Europe. And so I went out in a January and I met him in March.
Oh, okay, so
And
you were there for, like, just a couple months
yes,
and then met him, yeah.
just a couple months, yeah. I'd been studying Spanish in college, I'd been out there, I was very much, obsessed with the idea of studying there, and you and I did USAC, which shout out to USAC,
You suck!
program, right?
Sounds
Like,
like you suck.
you
Like the
suck.
funniest name for a program.
Well,
We're all
what
like,
what did
"You
USAC
suck."
stand for? University of Study Abroad Consortium, I think,
Something
was
like
what it was
that,
called,
yeah.
but
Sounds
it
good.
was a, like, subdivision for it went through ours went through the University of Nevada.
Ours
So
was through the university oh, yeah, no, it was through the University of Nevada, I remember, because I went to the University of Iowa, but they said it was through the University of
right? It
Nevada,
was
yeah.
through University of Nevada, which was interesting because it had some kind of, like, Basque thing. I don't know. It was like
And
I didn't know anything about the Basque Country,
one of my Spanish teachers in Bilbao came to Iowa to teach. Like, he was from there and he
Oh,
taught at
yes. They did
UPV,
the
but he
teacher
did
exchange.
yeah, he
Yeah.
did the teacher exchange and he was like, "Oh, I teach at the University of Iowa." I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." But yeah, so
Yes,
it's kinda
so
like
I same with Chico State, so it went
yeah.
through University of Nevada, it was USAC, and I had some of my finance teacher it's such a weird
Mm.
thing, some of my teachers out there also teaching. So, like, the reason I chose that program is because I studied business admin and I was in my last years doing a finance specialty, and it was the only program where I could go out there and through Universidad de País Vasco, UPV,
Ube.
I could take some finance credits, which was
Yeah.
so freaking random,
Yeah, that is random.
and Spanish, obviously. And so, yeah, I had a teacher who was doing in like a semester out there. So that's kinda why I chose Bilbao, I chose USAC so I could still get some
Yeah.
credits, and I didn't know anything about the Basque Country, you know?
Yeah, me either.
Very little.
Nothing.
I had, like, an orientation before we left where they talked about, like, if you're prepared you gotta be prepared for the Basque Country because it's not like Spain,
Yeah.
and that was pretty eye-opening, and I actually remember that orientation, like, making friends with some of the people that were gonna be in my study abroad program, so
No, that's cool.
anyway, and then you get to Bilbao and you're not actually in Bilbao, you're in Las Arenas or Algorta, staying out there. But yeah, so the way it was is and I've told you this story, but we met. It's all very exciting when you go abroad and being a rubia, you get
Mhm.
a lot of attention. I'm sure you got a lot of attention too.
Yeah, but it was weird because they would call me Rubia, and I'm like, "But I'm not Rubia, like, I'm pelirroja," you know? But for some reason, anyone with lighter hair that's not brown or black or
Yes.
whatever, they call rubias, and I'm just like,
Well, or blue eyes too, I
"Yeah,
think, if you just, like, look like you were a foreigner, they call you rubia.
was a todo guiri."
So, yeah, I got lots of attention that way. I thought it was super exciting to be in Spain. I loved, the party scene at the time. This was back in 2006, but a really big drinking game that was really popular amongst the locals was Canito. And as you know, lots of
Quito.
bars had a
Yeah,
dedicated, like, they had dice, that you could grab and you could sit in kind of like a communal fashion at the bar and beer garden way and play Canito. And
yeah,
so, yeah, we were just, like, learning how to do some of that stuff and sitting around in a Spanish bar and getting drunk, and I met him in the street, like I told you. We were
yeah.
walking out of a bar probably, like it was probably, like, 3 in the morning. You know how people go out so freaking late in the
I
country.
know, it was just getting started at
I
3 in the
know,
morning.
and that was the other exciting thing is, like, people didn't have dinner people don't have dinner
Yeah.
until really late. Even places I remember going to Malaga once and having dinner at, like, midnight. I was like, "What the
Yeah,
hell is going on right now?"
I know. And in Iowa, the bars closed at, like, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
They do
Yeah.
last call at, like, a quarter to 2, and you're just like, "Oh."
Mhm.
But, like, here, it's just, like, getting started at, like, 2 in the morning. It's
I know.
crazy.
I mean, clubs in Barcelona don't even open their doors until
Yeah,
2 AM
yeah.
normally. So, yeah, getting it was exciting, though. Everything was different, all that late night stuff.
And, like, was it love at first sight, like, when you guys locked eyes on the street where you just like,
Hell no.
"Hi." No.
Hell no. We're both, like, had fucking shark eyes, you know? Um, it's funny because I have a friend who calls anybody who's blacked out drunk when you're blacked out drunk, you have shark eyes. It's just like your eyes
No,
on the side of your
I mean,
face,
yeah. I
glazed
figured
over.
that's what you're talking about, but I've never heard that before.
Shark eyes, yeah, you're just not all there. Yeah, super, super funny. No, I mean, we were just having fun. I was 21 at the time, and we were all walking out of the bars. I don't there was always a lot of, like, foot traffic in Casco Viejo on that one street that
Mhm.
went through downtown and, like, up to Santuchu. I forget the
Yeah.
name of that street, but,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
and lots of little, like, almost like what would be considered for Spain, like a dive bar, Canito dive
Yeah,
bars,
yeah.
And I think he yelled like "Rubia" or something like stupid, and I was like, "Oh, hey," and then, like, I think can't really remember because we were all drinking and partying, but we definitely talked, and I think we, like, made out,
For sure, I'm sure you did, I'm sure.
and then he got my number, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, I mean, it was so long ago, but that's kind of how we met, and we were just having fun, we're so young, and I gave him my number, and he texted me the next day, and
So you guys at that time had cell phones, right? Or no?
we did, yeah,
You
we
did,
did.
okay,
We
yeah.
had cell
We didn't have
phones.
phones when I was
I
here
know that's
studying.
don't
Like, I
age
remember
yourself.
I remember using, like, the phones on the street, like the cabinas, the,
A payphone?
payphones. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we
No,
would all be
I
like, "We're meeting at a certain time, you better be there," or you know what I mean? Like, that was, like, old
right.
school.
Well, I even remember, like, before I had a cell phone, I had a pager.
Oh, you did? I never had a
Yes,
pager.
and
I
we had
wish I had a
pager
pager.
code.
That's
We had
so
pager
cool.
code, so we
You're
would
so
be
cool.
like I know. Well, and then the BlackBerries were a thing for a little bit, which is interesting if you think about a BlackBerry, because BlackBerry was just texting, and that's all
Yeah,
we do with phones anyway.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I think I had I had my first phone in high school, and it was like a little tiny like, baby phone. I always think of that SNL skit where, like, Will Ferrell, like, pulls out his little tiny phone. That's the kind of phone that
Yeah.
we started with, yeah. So we had cell phones, they were still, like, flip phones, I think, in Spain at the time, but yeah, we texted or whatever, and we decided to have a date, and I just remember being kinda walking into it blind because when we met, we were drunk
Yeah, so
and
you're kinda like, "I wonder what this guy's like." I don't
oh my
remember.
gosh, yeah, and I had been there for 3 months, so, like, my Spanish was not bad, but I definitely wasn't fluent,
Yeah,
and his
yeah.
English was really choppy, like, I forget, the terminology for that, but he just had basic, like, broken English, and so anyway, I just remember our first date, he came out, took the metro, and came out to Las Arenas, and we sat out on a terrace and had a drink, and I just remember he, like, we were just trying to communicate, and there's obviously, like, physical attraction. He was very good looking.
Yeah,
He was tall, moreno, dark
nice.
hair, dark eyes, and so he was, like, physically attractive. He was, like, a little sweet and goofy and innocent. We were so young. We were the same age,
Yeah.
like, 21, and yeah, it was all just super novelty at the time, like, it was very exciting to date someone from a different culture, have your broken English and broken
Yeah,
Spanglish.
Spanglish.
Spanglish, yeah. And it was like we definitely, like, were interested in each other, but I don't it was hard to understand each other. And then after that, I think we started seeing each other and we'd hang out together and go out together, and we just basically fell in love, little
So
puppet dog
sweet.
love.
Puppy love.
Puppy love,
That's
yeah.
so sweet. I can just see you at 21 just, like, falling in love with this little Spanish Basque boy. Sorry,
Best
not
boy,
Spanish,
yeah.
Basque boy.
Yeah, it was interesting. I definitely, culturally, him being from Santucho is like an area of Bilbao, which at the time, like a lot of the young people were like little thugs. And I mentioned this before, but it was,
That's so funny.
it's so funny. People and they still do, but people in the Basque Country are really into smoking hash like that. I remember that being like a really prevalent problem with like
Yeah,
young local people, they just smoke hash, like, all day. Luckily, my ex was not he did smoke, but he wasn't the kind of person that was, like, super addicted to it, all day, but I do remember hanging out with his friends and just remembering just feeling like they're the little Santuchu thugs, with their
smoking hash.
old school attire because they were probably set back by, like, 10
Yeah,
years,
they're,
wearing,
like,
like
wearing MC Hammer pants.
wearing, like, fake Ralph Lauren, like, fake Gucci shoes that somebody sold to them on the street, like one of those illegal markets.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely very interesting year. I mean, we were together all year. I was very much in love with him. I had to move back home and finish my university degree. I had another semester because I took basically a year off where I was doing like super minimal credits. And then we were long distance for a little bit. I also had to take a job like right when I graduated. And so that kind of complicated things. So we were on and off. And like I said, I had told you before that it was complicated to communicate because even though we had cell
I
phones,
know.
there wasn't WhatsApp didn't exist at the time, and Skype, I think, had just gotten started. And so
Yeah,
we would have to get on the computer to see each other. It wasn't like, now we have WhatsApp and
yeah,
FaceTime and really easy ways to communicate. That wasn't in existence at the time. So definitely complicated, very long distance relationship. But he came out to the US, spent 3 months with me, didn't have a visa. And eventually what happened was I went out to visit him in Spain. He proposed. We'd been dating for like
wow.
2 years on and off, right? And I
So when
went
you were visiting him, he proposed to you? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was visiting him, staying with his family, and we were actually staying in the apartment where we eventually got to live because his parents had their home base was Santucci, but they had a couple of other apartments. Like they had a summer apartment in like Santa Pola, which is in
Yeah.
Andalusia, like near Alicante. And his dad was a marine biologist and he had work out in I forget the name of like Mundaka area where God, that it was a natural preserve area. Now I can't remember the name of it, but on once we were on the name of the town was Busturia. It was in
Mm.
between Guernica and Bermeo, so,
Oh,
like,
okay.
very, very Basque.
Yeah.
Guernica was, like, a 15-minute bus ride away, but that channel there, that little inlet had a name. That
I
was
don't know.
yeah, you could do paddleboarding there. Mundaka was famous for the left wave, like, the surf
Oh,
championships that used to
yeah,
have there.
yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Very beautiful area, natural preserve. So his dad had work out there, and so they had an apartment out in Busturia. Anyway, we were visiting out there when I came back in the summer to see him, and we went up to this little hike in that area on the other side of the inlet, and I think the little church castle, they used to have these little refugios with names, like religious names, and it was San Pedro, and he took me up to go hiking there, and then he proposed to me up there.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. That's so sweet.
You know, when someone proposes to you, I always feel really embarrassed. Always. Like it's happened like a million times.
No, I was like, "It's only happened to me once."
I felt embarrassed.
That's so
Um,
embarrassing.
so embarrassing. Yeah. I don't know. I always had this like underlying sensation that I didn't really know what I was doing, you know? And I think a lot of it had to do with not being a foreigner and
Yeah,
abroad and knowing your partner, but not having it's different. Like you and I are Americans and we talk, we have these like language similarities. We have
yeah.
these nuances, this like pop culture under
Mhm.
like all these little things that make you understand someone. And I feel like dating someone who doesn't speak your language is always a little bit of a disconnect in some of those
Yeah, for sure.
areas, you know? And I'm sure you've experienced it with Jose or other people that, friends that you have that are from Spain, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
Mhm.
not the same talking to an American person as opposed to talking to a Spanish person, even though we're completely fluent in Spanish.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, yeah, I mean, I think the novelty of it was I think the exciting part was not really knowing those things and learning those things. And unfortunately, like I did end up moving back to Spain to be with him. And also because I really wanted to live in Spain and I wanted to continue my life living abroad and I wanted to spend many years there. And
yeah.
so I went ahead and we did get married in City Hall, and the idea
Yeah.
was to eventually have a wedding, but I think right after we did do the City Hall thing, I realized after a couple of years of really learning the language that I really, really, really understood who he was,
Yeah.
and we were very different individuals, you know?
Yeah,
First of all, we were so young when we met,
so
and
young, yeah.
we were just figuring out who we were, and I was living in a different country and having all of these experiences. I started learning the language really well with him, and I just realized that I think I just had a lot more ambition and just had this idea that my life would really continuously be, like, ever evolving and changing, and I don't know, like, sense of maturity was, we were very detached in that way, like and we had talked about last time, the cultural differences in family.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure you are on a totally different level of maturity, a totally different point in your life,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I think
coming from
I
where
just
you came
realized, like,
from.
when I learned the language and really understood who he was, I think there were things that I couldn't get past culturally. Like, it is very common that men in Spain, and I think in other Southern European countries like Italy and Greece, it
Yeah,
tends to be true that men are very much babied by their mothers. And I learned a lot about having a mother in law that was very overly involved in our relationship and very overly involved in his life. And he really I mean, I still have love for this person because he's such an amazing person, and we've been
yeah,
in touch over the years, and he went on to remarry and have another love story and all
yeah,
this good stuff, but his family, the matriarchal system that you mentioned, he didn't know how to do a lot for himself at that age. 21 for a Basque man or a Spanish man is very young. People often don't leave home until they're 30, and so I almost felt like I was already in a relationship where I was taking on a mother role,
right.
which I did
That's
not
hard
want, and I wanted
at
someone to
21.
take care of me too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
I don't think he and I both didn't know how to be in a marriage, but I think there was, a lot of complications when we started to live together and the immaturity around it and growing apart very quickly and me also really wanting to have experiences with other people. I was so young and living in a different country and
I
wanting to travel
know.
and meet new people and figure myself out. It was my 20s and early 20s and
Yeah, your 20s are so confusing anyway. Like your whole life you're
so
on this
confusing.
track, right? You're going to go to school, you're going to go to high school, you're going to go to college, maybe you'll get your master's, whatever you're studying. And then all of a sudden, you're just not on that track anymore. You're like, what am I supposed to do with my life?
I know, and I think
Yeah.
you and I probably had the really cool experience of being able to you were obviously in Miami for a little while, but and then, a portion of living abroad. And I think just being in Europe in general, like everybody has a very different mindset. You
Mhm.
can be in the Basque Country or Valencia or Madrid or Barcelona. And I know couples that have a huge age gap, right? Who never want to get married, or
Yeah.
couples that are in an open relationship, or lots of single people my age,
Yeah.
there never felt like there was a sense of, like, having to get married and have kids like there is in the States,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was amazing to have an experience where, of course, I did get married and eventually we split up, but I was able to kind of live a non-generic lifestyle, and I loved that about Europe. I loved that I could be free from that kind of pressure. I didn't
I
feel like
know.
I needed to be rich. I didn't feel like I needed to be married. I didn't feel like I needed to have kids. In my 30s, there were times where I really wanted that, but or I felt pressured around it, but I
Mhm.
did not feel that same pressure like being in the States where it's like your status quo is based off, the success of a marriage and kids and
Yeah.
having a great job and a big house and all this white picket fence bullshit, you know?
Yeah. It's very different here, very different. But people are
Very,
really
very different.
open-minded, really accepting, everybody do you and just be happy,
I
But
know. Yeah.
yeah, it's
And I
nice.
mean, you and Jose are never wanted to have kids.
Well,
That's probably, I would say, for US standards, something that's still pretty, of course, tons of couples don't have kids, but like, it's still like not as normal.
yeah, yeah. They'd be like, "Why don't you have kids? You didn't wanna have kids." Nobody ever asks us that either, which is I find really strange. No one has ever been except for your really close friends or whatever, but
Mm.
none like our neighbor, nobody is not none of my students, none of the teachers I know that I work with, they've never been like, "You don't have any kids? Why don't you
Yeah.
guys have kids?" Or like, "What, did you just" it's I don't know, they never ask us, so it's just kinda I think it's just
I
kinda
love
normal
that
here.
though.
Yeah,
I feel like it's because in a general sense, Europeans are a little more liberal. I mean, there's
yeah.
obviously more conservative places. Maybe Vitoria is probably a little more conservative in the Basque Country, but yeah, I just that there's a very liberal sensation around. Oh, buddy.
He just made this, like, loud noise. I was like, "That wasn't me, that was Bruno."
I like he's just like staring at us. Now he's gonna
No, he's gonna lick himself, but give him
what
some
a cutie.
privacy.
Give him some privacy. Yeah, I don't want to
But
get
yes,
him
you
on
were saying
camera.
sorry, Lexi, we're much more
No,
liberal.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
kind of.
general sense of not feeling that pressure, especially when I lived in Barcelona. All of my friends were just had a very alternative lifestyle. And so, yeah, it was freeing to not, feel the pressure. But now that I'm 42, I live back in the States. Yeah, seeing people settle down, seeing people married with kids, like all my
Yeah.
friends, it's a weird place to be in this small ass dating pool. But yeah, that's kind of my story. We ended up,
Yeah.
we got married. We lived together for a little while. I definitely learned to understand that our cultural differences did play a big part of our separation.
I'm sure. Yeah,
Mainly the way that we were too young. We didn't know how to take care of each other. He had a very overly involved mother, which
yeah.
did cause a lot of, like, heartache here and there. And the Basques and Spanish people in general, like, they very much need their cuadrilla,
Mhm.
Like, the cuadrilla is a thing. Like, I have
Sacred.
my guys' cuadrilla, and I'm going out with my guys' cuadrilla, and that was a every weekend kinda thing, and
Yeah,
that was
especially at that
exhausting.
age, right? It would be like every
Yeah,
Saturday was reserved, either
every
Friday or
Saturday.
Saturday, right? Reserved for their group of friends. That's like
Yes.
it.
And I
Yeah.
remember like, the cuadrilla is a big thing. So, like, guys go out with their guy friends, girls go out with their girlfriends. Oftentimes, like, married couples would go out with their separate friends. Like, that's a
Yeah.
very common thing, and I remember his it was birthday, and he was living Monday through Friday. Another reason why we split up. He was working a job Monday through Friday where we did not live together. So we literally moved into an apartment. We were paying rent in downtown Bilbao in Casco Viejo, and he was never there.
Wow.
I also wasn't working at the time. I was like on paro, like having an existential life crisis. He had got this puppy that I was taking care of like full time. It was
Yeah.
just so chaotic, and he was never home. So at the weekends, I had to split time between his cuadrilla and his parents, like
Oh,
having lunch
no,
with his
and you.
family. So, and as an American foreigner, those are
That's
not
rough, yeah.
common things, like
Especially if you
you
don't
end up
see him all week, and then he comes home on the
exactly.
weekend, and he's like, "Well, we have to see my family, we have to see my cuadrilla."
But that's so Spanish, like,
Yeah.
the family unit was really tight, and
Mm,
it was, like, lunch every Sunday with family and the cuadrilla every Friday or something, and, yeah, it didn't make a lot of room. I think that's very different from our culture. I think you end up when you go to college, you have new friends. When you graduate college, you have maybe live in a different place, and you have friends from work, and you're not around your lifelong childhood friends.
yeah, for that
It
long, yeah.
happens, but yeah, so I remember it was his birthday and I spent the day like, preparing like a picoteo with like jamon and like I made like a tortilla de patata and like
Mhm.
had all these little
Aw,
things
it's so
prepared and
sweet.
had wine and like a gift and a card. And he came home and we like celebrated together and we had some wine and we were, I don't know, probably had a present or something. And
Yeah,
after dinner, he's like, well, I just want you to know that I'm going out with my friends.
yeah, yeah.
I was upset. I was really upset. I was like, I was not invited, obviously. I was not
No, I
invited.
already knew that. You were not invited, yeah.
I was not invited, and this man comes home and I'm livid. But yeah, that shit is normal. That's a pretty normal
Yeah.
occasion. But yeah, I'm sure there's more funny stories. We did a lot of traveling together. He came to see me in California. We lived together in Minnesota when I was doing job training, which was interesting. And
Yeah, that's so crazy that you were in Minnesota. I can't believe you
I
were in
know.
Minnesota. And that he was there living with he must have been like, "Where the
We
hell
ate a
am
lot of
I?"
Krispy Kreme. I do
Yeah,
remember
I'm sure I
being
love
in the
Krispy Kreme.
Midwest. We got fat together.
Yeah, that's what you do in the Midwest. Hmm.
So that was all fun. It was all very novelty, but yeah, I mean, it didn't work out.
There and
Yeah.
I think maybe you could just chalk it up to you guys were just so young, it's really
So yeah,
hard. Like I said, I told you the last time, if I had married any of the guys I dated in my 20s, we would be divorced for sure. And
I
they were
know.
American. You know what I mean? They were like American guys. So like, I think most of it. I think people should wait to get married until they're like 35, maybe.
Yeah.
No, maybe that's a little too
Well,
late.
maybe I guess 31, 32 could be a good age because you can still have kids, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I
even
guess
if
if
it's
for people who
35.
want kids, yeah.
Yeah, people who want kids. Yeah. If you don't have that timeline, like wait till you're 45,
I mean,
know?
people are having kids, like, in their like, late 40s, I have a friend who
Yeah.
just had a baby, and she's 44 years old. Like, that's just
Wow.
for us, that's crazy, but totally fine. Everything went great, normal,
Oh,
yeah, so, I
good.
mean
Well, they say after 36, it's a geriatric
I
pregnancy.
know, but people are having babies in, like, their mid to late
40s.
40s. It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
It was a really sweet, nice story, and
Yeah.
it's part of something that made you who you are. I'm sure you learned a lot from that experience, and it got you to Spain.
Got me to
Mm,
Spain. We
yeah,
stay in Spain. Got my visa. Yeah.
that's
Well,
really cool.
anyway, for all of our listeners, we'd love you to subscribe. At the end of the video, you can hit subscribe. And if you have funny stories or you need advice, you're a foreigner living abroad, you can shoot us an email at podcast.foreignish@gmail.com. That's podcast foreignish@gmail.com. Podcast.foreignish@gmail.com.
Yeah, it's a
But
tough
yeah,
spelling. It's tough.
tough spelling.
Tough spelling, yeah. But, yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. Any, like, funny stories you guys have or interesting stories wherever you are in the world, it would be fun to hear. Or if you need
Yes.
any advice on love or non-love or anything else that we
Uh,
might have had some experience with. Yeah.
yeah, we wanna hear your stories, we wanna hear your questions. So hit subscribe, send us an email, and we'll see you next
See you
time.
next time.